Hello, where have you been? I've been sitting here for at least, 3 months, something like that, waiting for you to turn up. I haven't got a postcard, I ain't got a phone call, I've got nothing, folks. That's just rude. You could at least have sent me a postcard to let me know you're all right. How are you? Are you well? Good to see you. Now, I know I've been away, but that's part of the course with me, isn't it? I like to keep you on your on the edge of your seat, on your toes. You know what I mean? So I've got two things going for me today. I have the Orchard Pioneers, which I've pretty much drunk all of. It's bland, folks. It's 5% red apple cider. It promises bitter sweetness, but what I found from it, and I have a little bit at the bottom there, so I can tell you live what it tastes like. It's fine. And I hate that. I hate that blandness. Honestly, if you want to have a drink, you want something to taste good. You want it to taste like something. You want to get some sort of emotional, reaction to the fact that you're drinking something. I'm getting nothing from this, folks. Honestly, it promises more than it delivers, but we shouldn't be surprised by this because it is by Bulmers, one of the mass producers in the UK. Orchard Pioneers Red Apple Cider. I was hoping it would be a lot more interesting than it is because red apples in there, and I love red apples, and you're probably the same. That sort of sweetness you get from the red apples as you bite into it. And I've had previously red apple ciders by other companies that shall not be named, Sheppies, Thatchers, and such like other makers are available, folks. And they've been great, but this, it just leaves me sort of blur. So if I don't recommend it, I have to give it a 5 out of 10 because it left me cold. I may as well have been drinking water with some apple juice in because it's boring. Sorry, but I have to be honest, folks, and I'm going to put that down there out of the way so I don't get it mixed up with this one. Now, this one is a vintage cider. Now, let's have a little bit of a chat first before I drink it about the vintage ciders. Now, vintage ciders usually start around 7%. They do have a strong hit to them. They do have an overpowering hit of sharpness, apples. Some of them get it right. You can get more appleness than alcoholness. And I'm gonna just drink this straight out of the bottle, folks, rather than pour it into a glass like I normally do, because you know what, I don't think honestly that pouring it into a glass and showing you what colour it is really makes a difference to the end product. It's not going to taste any better just because it looks really nice. And if you're going to go to a pub here in the UK particularly and you're going to ask for a bottled cider, they'll give you the bottle and they'll expect you to drink it unless you ask for a glass. And of course they put ice in it, and don't get me started on that one. It should be cold enough to drink out of the bottle rather than you getting a glass and putting ice in it and then making it even more colder, watering it down with ice. Just don't get me started, right? Because anyway, this one, I'm going to put my glasses on, folks, because I need it desperately. I don't think this video is going to go off in time for the live stream, but if it does, I'll see you in a couple of hours. If it doesn't, then hopefully you enjoyed the live stream. This is a connoisseur's cider, medium dry and lightly sparkling, created from apples specially selected for their soft tannins. I'm expecting to get some of that hit. And a traditional flavour, matured over the winter months to bestow vintage qualities. And again, when they talk about vintage, they basically mean there's a lot of alcohol in there. Basically, that's what knocks up the ABV. As you can see, I've already had some, so I'm not going to lie to you. I have drunk this, but I'm not going to tell you what I thought of it until I have another sip. Okay, so here we go. This is live, folks. Right, there's the hit of apples, there's the alcohol. Does the alcohol flavour overtake the initial hit of the apples? In this case it does, so for me it's a failure in that respect, but it's not bland. It's got stuff going on. There is an initial apple hit. The sharpness of the apples there. Really, really crisp and full of flavour. But, and as is the case with a lot of these vintage ciders, which is why I don't drink them a lot, you do get the aftertaste of the alcohol. Because you have to, okay? It's 7% for God's sake. You're going to get a hit of alcohol. You can't describe, you can't disguise that, I was going to say. That's what I meant to say. You can't disguise the alcohol because it's there. It's 7%, and 7% is probably too high. What you need to be aiming for, folks, if you're going to make your own ciders from scratch, as I do, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you the best advice, which doesn't do me any favours really, because it really limits me doing any real experimentation with ciders from this point on. But as you've known me for a long time, you know I'm an honest person. I'm going to be honest with you. You can't go wrong with just apple juice and a decent yeast. Just use a decent yeast, get a decent apple juice. You don't need anything else. Don't try and make it flash. Put some black currants in there, some strawberries in there, whatever. You can if you want, but you're never going to get it as good as it is if you just keep it simple. So apple juice, yeast, that's it. That's your cider, folks. That's all you need. Honestly, is all you need. And you'll be astonished by the results. And you're going to want to tweak it, and you're going to want to add stuff in there, and you're going to want to make it better than it is. But I don't think you're going to be able to do that. Certainly, there are going to be people out there that love vintage ciders. Okay, there will be people out there that like vintage ciders. I don't mind vintage ciders, but I only want one. I wouldn't drink more than one, folks. You can only have one, because the 7% is going to knock you over, and you will fall over, and you'll know it in the morning. Only have one. You know, one's fine. You ain't going to want to drink more than one of them. But is it any good? It's fine, I suppose. It has got some flavour, more than this other one that I threw down on the floor. That one is just bland. It's got nothing going for it, really. This one does have some stuff going for it, in that there is the initial hit of apples, but afterwards you get that alcohol hit, which is what always doesn't disturb me because I'm expecting it, but for me it's always a disappointment, because I want the strong flavour of the apples over and above the alcohol hit afterwards. And I think you can get that if you brew your own cider. If you do turbo ciders and you get decent apple juice like from Waitrose, and you get a decent yeast like WLP 775, you will get that mix between the appleness and the alcoholness, and it won't bother you. It'll be great. It'll taste fantastic, and it'll be around about 6%, possibly 6 and a bit percent, depending on what apple juice you use. But it's going to taste better than that. And that's my point, folks, is that if you're looking for vintage ciders, you can do no better than yourself. Okay, don't go out and buy one of these. You don't need to, because you can make it better than this. This is nice. I'm not saying it's horrible, because you know, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Let's have another sip. Right, and if you want to taste how good it is, do what I did then, yeah? Put it in your mouth, let it rest. Keep it in your mouth, swish it around your cheeks so that it gets onto the taste buds on your tongue, the back of your tongue, and do that sucking thing on it. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but there is a reason for doing that. It's because you get the flavour of the juice out of the drink before you swallow. And as you swallow, you get that alcohol hit. You don't get the alcohol hit until you swallow. So that's why I'm suggesting that you should do that. Okay, there is method in my madness, folks. I promise you, I'm not completely insane, although maybe I am a little bit. But you know that anyway. So honestly, folks, this is fine. If you want to go out and buy some vintage cider, go for it. Don't expect too much though, okay? Just have one bottle occasionally, and you know, you'll be fine with it. But just don't be expecting miracles. You can do better yourself, and I suggest you do that and stick to the easy way of brewing a decent cider, and that's to do it yourself. Okay, so that's all from me, folks. I want to say thank you for watching again, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Ta-ta.